And you know, all of us, our work grows and evolves and changes. When Robin and I were first writing together at the library, she was writing these very short poems, like, you know. So compared to the poems that I first heard from Robin, those were epics that we just heard. But she can pack a lot into a few words, which is one of those skills that we're all trying to develop, right? Okay. Next we have someone who is at the very first reading. And if it wasn't for the fact that she and her family can handle the C word, among other things, the reading might not have continued after that night. It almost got shut down on the first night because on the very first night we heard that the word that most women like the least out of all of the words in the universe. And they became like such great supporters of the series and such good friends of ours, and that they're just so important to us, and so glad she's still coming. Lori Loringer.
So now I'm going to tell you a little story about a four-letter word. It just occurred to me when Zoe was little, before she started to read, she came to me one day and she said, "I know the F word." And I said, "Oh, okay, what's the F word?" And she says, "It's shit, right?" And I said, "Yeah, that's All right, now I wrote this one a long time ago when I was after helping my friend move. You'll have to guess who it's about. It's called Breaking Up and Moving On. Old dresser, not for the new place. Missing drawers still packed with agony, brimming with resentment. Too heavy to take to the dump. Heavy with old pain from his shattered heart, a piece of it closed up in the dark of the last remaining drawer alone. The whole damn thing would fit in the dumpster if it weren't so three-dimensional. If you only had a hammer, you could hammer down the heartbreak, destroy the resentment that brought him to this ghost town. I found the man a hammer and watched him as he swung it, and boy could that cat swing. He crushed that dresser flatter than a plate of broken dreams, and, smiling like a madman, pounded it to smithereens. He gathered up each splintered shard of what would never be and piled them in the dumpster where they fit exquisitely. I swear I saw him levitate as he turned to walk away. So light he glowed, ready to finish moving, ready to start moving on. We'll never know. Okay, and now...
What is that strange object that you're reading from?
This strange object I'm reading from is the little book I put together for the reading at Paper Tiger that I did a few days back. So yeah, I actually thank you to Joyce for causing me to put something together, and I do have some of these kicking around. And then when I get more staples, I'll have even more.
She ran out of staples, so if you want to help a fellow poet, buy Lori some staples.
They're small ones that fit the
Is that
staples.
like for lack of a staple, there was a lack
Exactly,
of a
exactly. Okay. I'm going to read this due to my conversation with Angelo on the break. On ignoring that Saturday knock at the door. That's a long title for a short poem. Why would I stop having the experience of God to give attention to your narrow idea of what the experience of God might be? Go home, Reinhold. Go on back to the Kingdom Hall, where God is strictly limited to the name Jehovah and cannot be called tree or breath, hummingbird, or silence.
Wow.
Another member of our Ghost Town family, and his wife Drea is also a member of our family who we dearly miss, and someone who I think was at that very first November 2004 reading. Is that right? Yeah, Jim Martin, everybody.
think there were 8 people at that first reading.
However
I thought
many it
this was
was, I was
great.
surprised to see all of them. It was 8 more than I thought were going to be there. It was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Well, I just have one, and it's relatively short. Still doesn't have a real title yet. We meet across the desk. Are we two objects, actions controlled by habit and conditioning, outcome decided by mass and velocity, like simple machines? Might we be in our bodies, minds, souls, two worlds, not physical, rocky orbs, but cultures, two spheres of experience, thought, belief, interacting at our outer orbits, tentative merger, searching for shared spaces, quiet rooms, for negotiation, understanding. Thank you.
Like me, Jim is one of those poets who also teaches or has taught, and I feel like I learn something every time I hear one of your poems, so he's still teaching as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, quiz in 5 minutes.
Yeah, right? So what I did, what I have to contribute is I went back and looked at poems that I had written or would have been reading around 2004. So I probably read most of these at Ghost Town at some point, but there's probably at least one in here that was never heard. And anyway, they're 10 years old, so unless your memory is a lot better than mine, you probably don't remember them. This is called Luna Had Job for About a Year. Luna had job for about a year. It happened, it's over, we just have to move on. From his position on the observation platform, Luna can see most of the city. This watcher is also capable of a form of communication with us, whether by crystal ball, dowsing rod, I Ching, Ouija board, tarot cards, chicken entrails, or what have you. Of course, I need him, he needs me, we need each other. He's the yin, I'm the yang. We're just different. Off the platform, he does his thing. Off the platform, I do my thing. His basic thesis appears to be that people who are religious are irrational, and that irrational people do strange things. People want to fuck. They want to eat red meat. They want to drink and have a good time. We thought they were a little different, but nothing you could put your finger on. They were from California. She sold vitamins. There is a controversy as to whether any of the non-human things are real, imaginary, or if they are even sentient entities. Everybody has this thing where they need to look one way, but they come out looking another way, and that's what people observe. It was horrifying. It took me about half an hour to remember who I was. My whole life I've been free and not sitting there like a caged animal. Believe that the people acted out of some type of ritual to get rid of demons of some sort. I pity you, sir. You won't have a Christmas. You won't have the love around you that everyone needs at Christmas time. The watcher then tells you where your car is parked, unless some rare disaster happens in the short meantime, like an earthquake swallows your car, or the building next to it collapses and pushes it away. He has these thoughts, and he needs to be held accountable. Ruler of the digestive system, Luna is feminine, receptive. He rules the ability of the individual to analyze. He rules logic and perfectionism. She assumed he couldn't distinguish between wants and needs, and this infuriated him. He felt this way whenever she was around. That was a poem written by the gentleman with the hammer that you met in Lori's poem. This is a much shorter poem called Metamorphosis. And this is a New York poem, so this must have been one of the visits to New York at that time, around that time. Metamorphosis. There is no point in asking where this trail of phone sex business cards will lead. On the E-train, the glasses tucked into the front of a young lady's sundress transform into a tattoo of a butterfly that is chosen just for a moment to linger on her breast. This is Mr. Spector's True Confessions. I can't remember anymore whether I have an obsession with really talented people who do really horrible things to people in their personal lives. So Phil Spector is really right at the top of that list. I can't remember though whether I wrote this poem before or after he murdered Lana Clarkson. Mr. Spector's True Confessions. Birthday party ends in gunfire. Little symphonies for the kids. I have 3 this afternoon. These customs open the door. El Capitan had once been soaked with water. Complete work of God, dragged 8.5 miles pinned to the front end of a Mitsubishi Montero. That had me in the kitchen cabinets trying to get off on nutmeg. The presence of the devil is often ignored, yet he is real, he is at work, and he is agitating. I jumped the counter because the Smurf was talking shit. Fucking vermin scared the shit out of me. I shudder to think of the consequences. So, and I was just watching a thing that I shared. It was beautiful. It was an 8-minute, I want to see the outtakes from this thing, 8-minute conversation between Patti Smith and David Lynch.
Oh, I
And
thought
you
that.
can look on my Facebook page, I put a little quote from each of them, and David Lynch basically said something along the lines of, just do what you're doing and believe in it, and then see what happens once it goes out into the world. It's kind of like, and as I've tried to study these people that I really admire and respect, that's it, is you just say what you have to say, and don't worry about what other people think, and if you think it's beautiful, there might be 2 or 3 other people out there who think the same thing. This has got a long title. This ancient tree sprouted when Babylon was flourishing, or this is not a poem about Christopher Luna and Jack Green. Floating, the worst part, things always seem to happen just as you're getting ready to leave. It was rough. It seemed like a race to get to Baghdad, then we ended up going backwards. Staff Sergeant Luna said at Camp Anaconda near Balad, Iraq. It is never our intention to air programming that offends any of our viewers, the network said. Now, going backward, Luna said, sounds just fine. Green was as tough as they come, a complete man, the good and the bad, recited Shakespeare from memory. At 15, he forged documents in order to join the army. Green used to have jewels and a beautiful gun collection. El Capitan had once been soaked with water, some type of ritual to get rid of demons of some sort. People don't know how pervasive this is, Green said. These customs open the door to evil spirits and demonic possessions. The presence of the devil is often ignored, but he is real, he is at work, and he is agitating. Like the rest of us, Green has issues. I'm not good at forgiving, Green said. I never learned how. So my good friend Barbara, who I met in 10th grade, and who ended up being the valedictorian of our class, what she did for undergrad work was art history. And I remember sitting in on some kind of class with her, where someone made a ridiculous comment like, old people can't paint, something really lame like that. And we thought that was hilariously funny. Another thing that we thought was really funny was the word tsunami. And we thought the word tsunami was really funny until that really serious one happened right around that time, right around the time Ghost Town was starting. So this is a part of a poem that I wrote for her. And the poem is kind of about how to wrap your heads around numbers, because we get all these numbers thrown at us that are not necessarily connected to the people behind the numbers. And it's also about me, it's kind of confessional, right? Tsunami for Barbalin. Part 3, Larger Than Life. The loneliness hits between midnight and 1, when all is quiet and I can hear the negative space in the distance between us. I should know better than to look out my kitchen window at this hour, yet I am unable to resist confronting the visions that await me there. An upside-down star, my mother in a recurring dream, my sister hanging from the limb of a tree as if lynched. These images do not frighten me. I take note of them swiftly. The mind cannot comprehend the loss of 3,000, nor 58,000, nor 150,000, 170,000, 6 million. Even those who feel compelled or worse obligated to try cannot fathom it and may feel only a hint of sympathetic pain. Your love is a tsunami, making its way west across thousands of miles to wash over me. Our love is a tsunami, undaunted by well-laid plans, familiar terrain, or unimaginable distances. All I ever wanted was to be larger than life, like CinemaScope, Morrison, Mingus, like this love we share. But in the face of this disaster, I laugh at my foolishness for what is larger than this life. The tsunami teaches us the irrefutable nature of Maya. All that you see before you, whether warmly embraced or taken for granted, may be swept out to sea without warning. I know that I made a huge mistake and that I am very far away. I know that I let us down, but so long as I love you, so long as there is breath in me, I beg you not to forget me. Please do not forsake me. Thank you for indulging me. I got two more here. I was happy to find that there were this many from 2004 that still liked. I mean, I'm not one of those people who just automatically hates things that are old, but just like all of you, like you move on to other things, right? So, what?
I saw your office when you moved. I'm amazed that you found them.
Yes, Microsoft Word is an amazing thing. So around that time, which is not the happiest time for me, the beginning of 2004, my godfather died. And that's all I want to say because the rest of it's here in the poem. So this is from early in 2004. Something told me to look for you in the animals, James. So I stared in wonder at the flick of a squirrel's tail and met the gaze of Nama, our neighbor's cat, who has been facilitating my conversion. Nama was particularly affectionate today, as if she needed comfort and reassurance, but recognized that I did. And I found myself looking at a picture of you and the boy and rereading the last card you'd sent. You never missed my birthday or Christmas. You told me I deserved a better year. I certainly hope it turns out that way. It did turn out that way, actually. I didn't know you very well, though I was curious. I knew so little that it never occurred to me that you had a life outside of our family gatherings, until we met on the subway platform in the city. I asked whether you wanted to see a movie sometime, and you politely declined. I was very interested to know where you'd been. I used to marvel at your enormous ears and the purple veins beneath your tissue-thin skin and wonder what it is like to have lived that long, and to have gained the knowledge to speak on any subject which arose at the dinner table. I told Angelo that your body had died, but that your love lives on, as does our love for you. And I believe that he understood that you were gone. This is Angelo. I was talking about the guy that died in the picture frame, and he was very nice about my Uncle Caleb, who also died. Seeing me saddened, the boy showered my right cheek with kisses to cheer me. So I realized right around that time that I tried to make this play date with my godfather, and he said no. That he might have been gay and didn't want the family to know. Not that my family would have reacted poorly, but because of the generation that he was, or maybe he was a serial killer. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like one of those kinds of relatives, you love them, but you see them at like those big family gatherings. So he could have been doing anything. I mean, I had no idea. Yeah. So anyway, I loved him, and I know that he loved me, but his life is really a mystery to me, and now he's gone. So this one is more recent. This is what I want to finish up with. Some of you remember Raul Sanchez, who came and was a feature for us. I think people really enjoyed what he did. Raul and I really bonded when we had a ferry ride together when those Burning Word festivals were still happening up on Whidbey Island. And so he really holds a special place in my heart. And Raul sent me a job. I mean, he sent me a letter. He's working his ass off like most of us are, just to try to figure out how to provide for his family and survive and all of that. And he was really just kind of discouraged in this letter, so I wrote him this poem to encourage him a little bit, and I'm offering it to encourage you to continue writing. No weekends for poets. Poets are on call 24/7, antenna outstretched, ears waiting for the next note, eyes scanning the landscape for signs of life. Shapeshifters, brave mask wearers, adventurers willing to risk heartbreak for humanity's sake. Don't let the man get you down. Your day job is a cover to keep the snipers distracted as you destroy the capitalist nightmare from within. Heroic singer, maker of songs, Your poems will remain long after this social experiment has expired from its own pollution. You will prevail. So thank you for hanging in there and listening to some poems from 2004. I want to thank Tiffany for providing a document of this so you can prove to those who are not here that it was cool and fun. I want to thank my co-host Tony Partington and of course Mel for being here for us and for being flexible when Mother Nature was inflexible. And I hope everyone will join us on December 11th and also on January 8th. Those will be our last hurrah here at Cover to Cover. It's been an amazing run, but the series will go on. And I hope that we'll see Mel, unless she's too busy working on her next novel. I'm hoping she'll drop in on us at the new location. All right, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next month.